The throne of Velkara had stood empty for 3 centuries. Grace wiped the sweat from her forehead as she pushed her cleaning cart down the obsidian corridors of the imperial palace. The massive structure, built by the long-extinct Velkaran Empire, now served as a museum, a monument to a civilization that had conquered half the galaxy before mysteriously collapsing. She was just a janitor, one of dozens employed by the Galactic Heritage Commission to maintain the ancient site. "Grace, you copy?" Joseph's voice crackled through her comm unit. "Yeah, I'm here," she replied, maneuvering around a group of Thexian tourists gawking at the crystal murals. "What's up?" "Boss wants the throne room cleaned before the delegation arrives tomorrow. Apparently, some Velkaran descendants are coming to attempt the blood trial again." Grace groaned. "How many does that make this year? 50? 60? 73, Joseph said with a chuckle. "And every single one failed. You'd think they'd give up by now." The blood trial was legend throughout the sector. According to ancient texts, only true Velkaran royalty could activate the throne. The heir would place their hand upon the armrest, and if their blood was pure, the throne would awaken, granting them access to the Empire's vast, automated fleet and weapons systems that still orbited dead worlds across 20 star systems. Scholars believed it was genetic authentication, DNA locked to a specific bloodline. But 300 years of claimants had proven fruitless. The throne remained dark and silent. Grace made her way to the throne room, its vaulted ceiling disappearing into shadow despite the modern lighting systems installed by the Commission. The throne itself sat on a raised dais, carved from a single piece of midnight blue stone that seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols covered every surface, glowing faintly with bioluminescent bacteria that had somehow survived millennia. She began her work, carefully dusting the intricate carvings with specialized tools designed not to damage the ancient surfaces. The throne room always unsettled her. Too quiet, too vast, filled with the weight of dead ambitions. As she worked her way up the dais steps, her cleaning solution sprayer caught on her belt. Grace stumbled, throwing out her hand to catch herself against the throne's armrest. The sharp edge of a carved symbol sliced cleanly through her glove and into her palm. "Damn it!" she hissed, pulling her hand back. Blood welled from the cut, 3 drops falling onto the throne's surface before she could stop them. The effect was instantaneous. The symbols erupted with light, not the faint glow of bacteria, but brilliant, pulsing illumination that raced across every surface of the throne like lightning through circuitry. The entire room trembled. Grace stumbled backward, pressing her bleeding hand against her chest as the throne began to rise, rotating slowly on some ancient mechanism that had lain dormant for centuries. "Joseph!" she screamed into her comm. "Joseph, something's happening." "What? Grace, what's wrong?" Before she could answer, a holographic projection exploded into existence above the throne. The image of a Velkaran, tall, crystalline skin. Eyes like fractured starlight, gazed down at her with an expression of profound surprise. "Impossible," the hologram said in flawless galactic common, its translation matrix still functioning after all this time. "Analysis complete. DNA signature confirmed. Heir identified." The hologram's eyes fixed on Grace. "Welcome, Your Majesty. The Eternal Fleet awaits your command." Grace's mind reeled. "There's been a mistake. I'm human. I can't be—" "Genetic analysis is conclusive," the hologram interrupted. "Velkaran royal markers detected. Bloodline, Empress Salkara, the Wanderer, last of the dynasty. This unit calculates a 0.003% genetic inheritance, sufficient for throne activation under crisis protocols enacted during the fall." The throne room doors burst open. Joseph sprinted in, followed by security personnel and bewildered museum staff. They all stopped dead at the sight of the blazing throne and the holographic herald. Grace! Joseph stared at her wide-eyed. What did you do? I don't know. She held up her bleeding hand helplessly. I just cut myself and... The hologram continued as if she hadn't spoken. Empress Salkara took a human mate during the evacuation of the core worlds. Her daughter was sent to Earth for protection during the Crimson Plague. The royal line continued in secret, diluted through generations but never extinguished. You, Grace Chen, are the last inheritor of the Velkaran Empire. Across the galaxy, automated systems that had slumbered for 3 centuries stirred to life. Dreadnoughts hanging in silent orbits began running diagnostics. Defense platforms powered up their reactors. The collective military might of an empire, unclaimed, untouched, waiting, recognized its new sovereign. Grace looked at Joseph, then at the growing crowd of stunned onlookers. Her hand throbbed. Her mind struggled to process the impossibility. The 73 claimants, she said slowly. They were looking for pure Velkaran blood. Correct, the hologram confirmed. They failed because the bloodline had already diverged. The last empress understood that survival required adaptation. She chose continuation over purity. She chose the future over the past. I'm a janitor, Grace whispered. You are the heir, the hologram corrected. The fleet awaits. The Empire's knowledge awaits. Trillions of lives once depended on this throne. What happens next is your choice. Joseph moved to her side. His expression a mixture of shock and something else. Pride, perhaps. Grace, you don't have to. I know, she said, staring at the throne. A janitor. A human with a fraction of alien blood so diluted that no scanner had ever detected it. And yet here she stood, at the fulcrum of history, where the ghosts of an empire waited for someone, anyone, to care about their legacy. She thought about the 73 failed claimants, searching for power, for glory, for the restoration of their pure heritage. She thought about an empress who loved a human enough to doom her dynasty's purity, but save its essence. Grace stepped forward and placed her bloodied palm fully upon the throne. Then let's see what we can do, she said. The throne room filled with light, and across the stars, an empire remembered how to dream.